The Soi San Wan, since I've had that, the necklace, I've gone down to my doctor's to have blood drawn.
Wait,
You know what I'm going to
wait.
say next, don't you? You know what I'm going to say, and it's exactly right. They cannot get any blood from my body. They try. One nurse, 5 times in different arms. I was in agony. She kept plunging the needle in. Where's your blood? Where is it gone? They just couldn't do it because this Sak Yant protects against sharp
Of
objects.
course. Oh my God. Sheer Zed, thanks so much for joining me on the podcast. It's really great to meet you.
Thank you very much indeed, Brian, for having me.
We're here to talk about your book that's recently come out called Tattoo Magick. Um, Three things that I really love. I've been interested in and fascinated by Thai culture since I started practicing Muay Thai about 20 years
Ah,
20
ah,
years ago or so. And I love tattoos and I love magic. And it was through my practice of Muay Thai that I became aware of the Sak Yant, the kind of magical protective tattoo that a lot of Thai boxers would have on their body. And hearing these stories about a Thai boxer who got in a scuffle outside of a bar, and somebody shot him in the chest, but because he had his Sak Yant, that he was protected, and the bullet never even pierced his flesh. And these kind of stories always just fascinate me and
mhm.
enthrall me. So when I saw that your book was coming out, I was like, okay, I got to talk to this guy because it's a topic that I have a kind of fascination with, but I've never really delved into. I didn't understand the whole history of the Sakyant and all of the ritual involved with it and everything. So I think it'll be a really fun conversation.
Hmm. Well, I'm thrilled to hear that you are a fan of Muay Thai fighting. There is a correlation between Sak Yant and warriors. Sak Yant has, I think, about a history of 2,000 years and has evolved from yantra in India and has evolved over an enormous length of time. In the 3rd century, the Indian emperor Ashoka sent emissaries to Asia, throughout Asia, and to Thailand, and they arrived there and seeded Buddhism. Then, a few centuries down the line, Theravada Buddhism became the dominant form. The idea of placing tattoos onto bodies can be, as protective talismans, can be placed with any number of countries within Southeast Asia. Everyone seems to have, pardon the pun here, the phrase, skin in the game when it comes to claiming ownership and authorship, originality of who first started doing this. The Chinese recorded in the 2nd or 3rd century people on the border with skin garments.
Hmm.
So the tattoos were called skin garments. And then around the Mekong River Delta, there were the Funan kingdom. There were people who had also tattoos. So over time, this became more and more accepted as a form of protection. Sak Yant is made up of many different things. It's made of Pali, which is the language of Buddhist scripture, Com script, Khmer script, Thai, Mon, Thai, and other encrypted, how shall I say it, occult meaningfulness that only the Ajahn knows and the master. I have a Sak Yant called the Yant Soi San Wan, and this means necklace. It's a necklace, and in the book there's a photograph. In fact, it's on the cover of the book. And this thing is draped across my upper chest. It's 3 lines of scripture. Now, earlier when we were chatting, we were discussing. You were talking about particular Muay Thai fighters. One in particular who had a gun pointed at him. It was fired. It was discharged, and the bullet did not pierce his body. This tattoo, which is why so many fighters and warriors have it, one of its characteristics is to prevent sharp objects from entering the body. Its specific purpose is to prevent objects from entering the skin. Now, I did not ask for this particular Sak Yant to be given to me. I went over a period of 7 years on these different pilgrimages that were underscored by, I would say, supernatural messaging from 2 monks and a deity goddess. And they were guiding me, and I've written about this clearly in the book, to come to Thailand to receive Sak Yant. I didn't know, I didn't consciously know I was going to receive Sak Yant. In fact, needles and the idea of tattoos were really the last thing on my mind. I have always been interested in art and comics and drawing and graphic novels, and there is a strong creative side to me, but the idea of putting that on my body was really not in there at all. And then the opportunity arose for me to do that. The Soi San Wan, since I've had that, the necklace, I've gone down to my doctors to have blood drawn.
Wait,
you know what I'm going to say next, don't you? You know what I'm going to say. And it's exactly right. They cannot get any blood from my body. They try. One nurse, 4, 5 times in different arms, I was in agony. She kept plunging the needle in. Where's your blood? Where is it gone? They just couldn't do it. Because this Sak Yant protects against sharp objects.
Of course. Oh my God.
Before this Sak Yant, I was able to give blood very easily.
Right.
And then after the Sak Yant, no dice. It works both ways. You think, oh, hey, that's great. You can be protected against sharp objects and bullets and guns misfiring. Great. But the practical side is, if you need to have blood drawn, it's really quite inconvenient. And I mentioned this to the nurse. I said, look, I'm sorry. She said, what is it with you? I said, I'm sorry, I've got a magical tattoo that prevents me from from you poking me with your needle and taking blood. And she looked at me like I was completely nuts. And I said, it's all right, I've written about it. If that made it any better, but which it didn't. So Sak Yant is a magical form. And many people take it on board and they don't quite know what they're getting into, not
Right.
wishing to sound disrespectful. But many folk don't quite understand the nature of it.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's a magical spell placed upon the human body. And only an Ajahn or a sorceress monk can give it to you. You cannot get this done by a regular tattoo artist, no matter how good they are, and I respect tattoo artists. No matter how good they are, they cannot do it. It would be, as I've said previously, inviting someone around your home to rewire your house, electrically speaking, and not understanding what electricity is.
Mm-hmm.
It's a dangerous thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
Only a practitioner can give you Sak Yant.
Yeah. I love this story. You going to get blood drawn. It's amazing.
It's the truth. I just couldn't get I
Right.
couldn't get blood drawn.
Yeah. Could you call up your Ajahn and have him deactivate it for, half an hour or so?
I wish. I mean, I wish. But
Yeah.
no, it's a done deal. And the thing is, once you have a Sak Yant on your body, you have to learn to manage living with it.
Right.
I, as I said previously to you, Brian, I didn't ask for this one because this Sak Yant, it was diagnosed. The
Yeah,
Ajahn,
sure. Because
yeah,
a lot of people listening won't be familiar with Thai Buddhism or Shamanism, and they won't understand what Ajahn means, who that
okay.
person is. So let's just back up a little bit, and maybe even to the point where you received this message, because it doesn't sound like you had a lot of interest in magical tattoos before this point. And like, were you already looking at Thai Buddhism? Were you interested in Thailand? But like, when did you start to get this call to take a pilgrimage to Thailand to get a tattoo? What was going on?
I'll go back somewhat and then give you some context as to how I arose to this because I just throughout my life I've had what I've called recently spiritual breadcrumbs,
Hmm.
and I have what would be termed to be an intuitive side to me, and I guess being neurodivergent has kind of helped in a way. It's been both positive and not so positive in terms of managing things. But it's what happens is, Brian, is that I get this thing whereby I see something and it kind of, you know, it comes out at me in like a slight 3D way and it says, this is really important. And I go, okay. And I read it and then I put it to one side. It doesn't make sense at the time, but I've made note of it.
Hmm.
Um, I've always been interested in Buddhism as a child. I used to watch a show called Kung Fu with David Carradine. And throughout my life, there have been different things. The Beat Poets and their work with Zen Buddhism. Um, and also, I've been around friends who were interested in a form of Buddhism called Nichiren Shoshu. I worked for a number of years in California, in Los Angeles, in a bookstore called Borders. one person suggested that I actually hadn't done any practice and that I was just sitting around and drinking coffee and reading books. Well, I was an employee at Borders and I brought thousands of books into the store along with my fellow workers for nearly 5 years. Um, so I had a lot of time working early in the morning, seeing a lot of literature, but actually going home to practice. Um, and that helped. And I was in Los Angeles for 7 years, and I was married. And then that ended, and I came back to Britain. So I've always been interested. And through music, my interest in Thailand arose because of a group called Coil.
Hmm.
And I've always been interested in them. And since the 80s, I followed their work. And I heard that they used to go over to Thailand regularly. And one in particular, one of the members ended up living there. So I thought maybe that would be interesting to go there.
Hmm.
And
Well, something tells me if you're into coil in the 80s that you're also interested in transgressive film, art, maybe some occult stuff beyond the Buddhism. Would you say you're part of that whole kind of scene back then?
I, when I was child, there was a book in the house. My father was a practicing magician. He was an astrologer and a practicing magician, and he had an extensive library. And there was one book which covered the occult. It was like a primer with lots of different drawings and different things and pictures and heavily illustrated, called Magic Words and Numbers. And that, being exposed to that at the age of 9, my interest about the occult was always there. Tarot cards, things like that.
Yeah,
And my
and
mother
like
was
I remember too these kind of compendium books that were out in the 70s. Like people don't understand now, but like before the internet, how would we get exposed to stuff like this? Well, there were these like books for a popular audience that were compendiums of witchcraft, wizardry, magic, the occult. And I remember like opening these up when I was a kid, and they usually had kind of nice, like embossed leatherette covers and things, so they look like weird magical books. And you'd open it up and you'd see a picture of someone like Madame Blavatsky or Aleister Crowley, and you're just like fascinated by these images, right?
exactly, we're on the
Hmm.
same page. And
Yeah.
that, like yourself, how how I was educated into this subject. I was drawn into it. Hey, there was no internet. There was TV, films, books, newspapers, literature, libraries, just that. I mean, nothing else. And the electronic revolution in the 90s, everything changed. It just exploded. And the neo psychedelic revolution in the 90s, for me, I was hitting the surfboard, and I was surfing a wave of psilocybin. I was there. I was involved in a whole series of experimental lifestyles, and I mean, in the 80s, I was aware of certain things. You mentioned transgressive elements, and yeah, I looked at that, but more so in the 90s. But
Hmm.
I was more into in the 90s. I got heavily into Terence McKenna and his work. So I I was interested in Buddhism, in psychedelic culture, the beat poets, industrial music, electronic music, most definitely.
Hmm. How about
And
like Throbbing Gristle, Temple of Psychic Youth, Genesis
exactly,
Peerage? Yeah, right.
yes, yes. I was interested. I mean, there's one album I had which introduced me to all these artists, and it was a compilation album from Some Bizarre Records called "If You Can't Please Yourself, You Can't Please Your Soul," and all the artists that you mentioned were on
Hmm.
there. I mean,
I
they
love
were.
that title.
Yeah, it's a great album. Um, and if you can get hold of it, it has everyone on there. I mean, Jim Thirlwell, who was
Hmm.
known as Scraping Fetus Off the Wheel, Psychic TV, Azunde Neubauten, uh, Viver, and Coil and Yellow, and all sorts of different artists were on this compilation album, and I was exposed to this. I probably had the only copy in Somerset. I mean, I was just going through a record store, local record store, and I saw one copy of it, and I was just, again, spiritual breadcrumbs. I mean, significant points in my life when I see something and I go, "Oh, this is really important for some
Hmm.
reason. I have no idea why."
Yeah, it's just something about the image or the vibe of it jumps out and grabs you, right? And you have no idea at the time where that breadcrumb is going to be leading you.
Yes, yes,
Hmm.
exactly. It's an instinctive thing that has run my life. My life has been a series of instinctive thoughts and decisions, and the opportunity
Yeah, me too.
was arose to yeah to go to Thailand, and I took that opportunity, and I went and I began a 7-year odyssey of different uh, visits to Thailand. Uh, from 2017, I took on the 5 precepts, and or attempted to, and I still attempt to every day. I take it a day at a time.
Right.
The 5 precepts are demanding, but they're worthwhile because they are what gives Sak Yant their power,
Mm.
their strength, and their magical um, weight. If you are in line with that, they will work for you,
Hmm.
and that is the basis of Sak Yant. Is your I mean, I don't want to sound to use an old hackneyed phrase that I'm virtue signaling. It's not virtue signaling. I mean, virtue, it used to be a good thing. It used to be a good thing that was, wholesome and respected. And now it is shamed. You're shamed into thinking that virtue is a bad thing. I mean,
Hmm.
the playwright Bertolt Brecht said, uh, it's bad to be good in a bad world. Well, yeah,
Hmm.
I agree with that. But the thing is, if it's already a bad world, then being bad with it is not going to make it any good.
Yeah.
So the idea of upholding some values, uh, as they say in Texas, walking tall, it's not easy. It's really hard.
Hmm.
But if you do that, and you have Sakyam, and they are really, I mean, they're so powerful. Each one with its own qualities. I have 14 different Sakyant on my body, and my entire back, as you can see from the photographs in the book, has been filled with, has been completely covered with Buddhist scripture, with Pali. The last day I was there, the last time I was there, I had a message from within, and it said, "You need to do this. You need to seal the back." And I questioned why would I do this? But I was following the intuition. It was telling me to do this. To answer your question about the messaging,
Hmm.
about why you were drawn there. I went before I decided to go to Thailand. I went to see a medium
In Britain or LA?
in
Hmm.
Britain.
Hmm.
Yeah, I went to see a medium, and they said, and I because I felt it was important to get some kind of view before throwing myself out into the void, because I felt I don't know, I need to kind of have a, you know, not exactly a remote viewer, but some kind of divinatory advice as to what exactly is going on here.
Right, like
I
a spiritual travel agent. You're like,
That's a very good
I'm
point.
thinking of taking this trip. Could you,
Exactly. That's such a great, yes, a spiritual travel agent. Um, and they were happy to talk to me. So I sat down. They didn't, I said, look, I'm going to Thailand, and they said, and before I don't even know if I said that. I said I was thinking of traveling, uh, and I needed to know. And they said, do you know what's coming out at me right now? And I said, no. Two monks and a goddess deity. They
hmm,
are coming out of the darkness, and this goddess deity. You are. This is not. This is not a mission that you're on. You are being called. You are being called to Thailand. You are being asked to go there, and these two monks and this goddess deity are calling you, and they will accompany you during your time. And when I heard that, I thought this is bigger than me, and it's beyond me, and I am not to question. And I just follow the advice and just do this,
hmm.
despite having no idea where I was going or what would happen. And I obviously employed guides to help translate and to drive me. But I didn't know what was going to happen.
Yeah, just when the medium delivers that message that that's what they're seeing, what goes through your mind? Like I can imagine sitting there and hearing this and the fur raising on my arms, just getting that kind of shock, like, oh, huh. What was it like for
Yes,
you?
yes, it was. Well, that's a very good question. With things like this, they they only make sense afterwards
Hmm. Right.
because I heard this from this person. They said, they told me, and I was like, yes, my hackles were up, and my hackles were. This is really spooky. I mean, I don't know what I feel about this. Um, what happened was that I came into contact with two monks, and the two monks were had already passed. But the importance in my life now of these two monks is evident. The one is Lumpur Pina, and he is an important part of my life. I went to a temple 50 miles outside Bangkok, and it was there that he, well, I believe he spoke to me and told me that I'd led a dissolute life, but now it would be better. And when he spoke to me, and I thought I was having a psychotic break at the time, I thought, well, this is so strange. And I accepted it, even though I was angry back at the hotel. I thought, well, I'm not having you tell me what I am. But then I looked at the meaning and I thought, yeah, I have led a dissolute life. Actually, you're absolutely right. And I need to improve things. I need to feel it, just have more integrity about
Mm.
my body and what I'm doing with myself.
Yeah, like
So
when I hear dissolute, I kind of translate that as maybe like unfocused.
yeah, dissolute means that you lead a life. I mean, I, I, I was up to that point quite a heavy cannabis smoker,
Hmm.
and smoking cannabis, and I knew that I would need to stop doing that. And I'm drinking alcohol, not to a heavy level, but I was drinking alcohol. And these things do not come in line with the five precepts. You have to, one of them is just don't get drunk, I mean, don't
Right.
drink,
No
don't,
intoxicants, right?
no
Yeah.
intoxicants.
Mhm.
And after a lifetime of that, I mean, expert level intake of psychedelics and cannabis and alcohol. I mean, I had to turn off the faucet and say, I need to stop doing this because it's going to ruin me. It's not going to do me any good.
Mhm.
And the second monk was a monk called Lompo Toad, who we went to on the fourth pilgrimage, met this abbot, very rare to meet the abbot because you can't pin them down. It's like 50-50 if you get to meet the abbot. And Kruba Tenachai, we went through some very interesting uh, rituals. And Kruba Tenachai, he said, do you know, because the whole temple outside Chiang Mai, what may cry, is covered, it's got just massive statues of Luang Por Toad. I mean, they're huge. They're just ginormous. They're 50 feet high. And he said to me, "Do you know the mantra of Luang Por Toad?" That was translated to me. And strangely enough, a few months earlier, I'd been studying this monk, and I started to learn and chant the mantra before he asked this question. And so when he turned to me and asked me, "Do you know this mantra?" I turned to him and I just said it. Namo Bodhisattva Akinti Maya Iti Pakwa. And he looked at me like I just dropped a plate of, like glasses or something. I mean, he just looked at me, his jaw dropped, and he couldn't. It's like, do you know that?
Right. This British tourist or, right.
This British guy turning around, telling, you know this? And he was just like, whoa. And I thought, I don't know. I mean, again, my intuitive side had told me, learn this mantra.
Hmm.
And he said, you need to chant this 25 times every Monday from now on. And I've taken his advice and I do that every Monday, 25 times. I chant that mantra.
Hmm.
He said it will be important for your spiritual development.
Hmm. Okay, so what's your first introduction to the tattooing?
The first time I had a Sak Yant was in 2017. And it was the Sak Yant pertaining to the deity May Saraswati. And this is the female goddess form that was in the vision that the medium had.
Right.
And
Did
she
you,
is the
when you
dead.
saw an image of her, did you have a recognition like, oh, it's her?
Only afterwards.
Hmm.
Afterwards, you see, when I was given the information at the beginning before I left for Thailand, I was told that these three figures would be important to you. They're actually bringing you over. And only afterwards did I realize what was being said to me. Like years afterwards, I go, oh, hold on a minute. And writing the book, you get to see everything. You literally, this is why I had to write the book. I was compelled to do it because so much happened,
Mm.
and I needed to get it out of me in a not in a way of like like some kind of act of, I don't know, some kind of performance or something. It was a sincere need to exercise everything that had happened and place it into paper.
Hmm. Just to kind of like for you to see how all those breadcrumbs are connected, maybe.
Yes.
Like even going back to your childhood and some of those experiences with your father, which you go into in the book, and these harrowing situations, and
Yeah.
suspecting your father was possessed by a demon based on his participating in a black magic ritual, and I mean all this stuff, and then like you read your life backwards and you go, oh, yeah, it's like what James Hillman calls the acorn theory. Reading your life backwards and looking for where that seed started to sprout and grow into the oak tree that is your life. But you can't see it at the time. You don't
No,
understand it. Yeah.
no, absolutely. I needed to do this in
Right.
order to understand. I needed to understand what was happening to get some circumspection.
Hmm. Yeah, that's
And
a good word. Hmm.
I needed to understand. And that's why I wrote the book. It asked to be written. And so I just followed that and I went, okay, well, never written a book before, but here goes.
Hmm.
And uh, I had written articles before, but a book is it's a different animal. It's a different thing altogether. It's a challenge. So
Hmm.
in Chiang Mai, I met Ajahn Nanting, and he gave me my first Sak Yant. The first Sak Yant I had was not with ink, it was with oil,
Hmm.
and it was invisible.
Right. Yeah, I've heard of the invisible tattoos, but it's done with an oil. I was thinking water, some ointment, but in oil. Hmm.
Oil. And these oils are mixed and they, you know, they are just sublime. You can have oil tattoos and they are clear and they follow the same principle, but they are, you know, placed upon the body, in my case on the back. And I'd never had a tattoo before in my life. So if you've never had a tattoo, it's more than just a shock to the system. It is, well, it's almost like being opened up.
Hmm. Flayed, it feels at times, yeah.
It is a very good word to use, Brian. It's like
Hmm.
being flayed.
Well, it's kind of interesting, right? Like if we think about the tattoo being like a skin garment, the old skin has to be peeled off first so the new skin garment can be applied, or I don't know, there's something there that I find interesting that I've not
Mm.
thought of before.
Yeah.
But we were going to explain what Najan is, so
Oh, of
just
course. Yeah.
briefly.
An Ajahn is a term, an honorary term to describe a teacher. Sensei is comparable to that term. And Ajahn, in my humble estimation, can also be a magician.
Hmm.
It is someone of great learning and knowledge. Um, there are some monks who have the term Ajahn, and there are lay people who are called Ajahn. And lay people, meaning they are not monks, but they have spent time in a monastery and disrobed with that knowledge and gone on to practice.
Mm. Well, in Muay Thai, the master coaches I believe, yeah, we called them Ajahn. Yeah.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
that would be more like the sensei, but of course, like Muay Thai is not just a physical sport. It's got this whole spiritual shamanic component to it with the Wai Kru dance and the strange horns that play during the match and the ritual of the putting the headpiece on and taking it off and all of this stuff. I mean, it's not just Thai boxing. There's a lot more going on there.
It's it's a an ancient ritualistic. It has a philosophy. It's a philosophy,
Hmm.
and it is deeply connected to that. It is. I mean, it's not just. You see, what I find fascinating about Eastern philosophy is it's rooted deep, has deep, deep roots, and it's. I just found that profoundly attractive. I mean, it's beautiful.
Yeah, well, it clearly comes from, what would you say, like an earth-based religion or a shamanism. Like that's so clear, whether it's
Yeah,
Tibetan Buddhism in Bonn or Thai Buddhism, with all the magic ritual involved and everything. It's what makes it different than the monotheistic religions,
yes.
and
It's
it's still
Buddhism.
apparent that there's magic and the animism and shamanism in the religion.
Yeah, it's Buddhism is non-theistic. It is, and the thing I like about it is the fact that it is an absorbent belief system. It is absorbent. It gives wriggle room for other connectivity. It absorbs. It's not. It doesn't dictate to anyone what you can and cannot believe in. I mean, obviously there are certain things that are tantamount, but there are, you I mean, Thai Buddhism. I mean that that's a peculiar animal and has so many different facets to it. Tibetan Buddhism, again, as you mentioned, the Bon religion, that you know, it, it's very shamanic and divination is a part of it, and the belief in black magic. Milarepa, the yogi saint. Uh, I was reading his autobiography, and it's remarkable. I mean, he was taught black magic, Milarepa, and he basically he killed a wedding party
Right.
using the magic he had learned. It was all stemming from the fact that his mother was angry with his uncle. His father died, and the father asked the uncle, "Please look after my wife and my son." But the when the father died, he didn't. The uncle didn't look after them. He treated them terribly, and he took all the money, and you know, it, and the mother was furious, and she was just left with a little piece of land, a little tiny scrap of land. So she saved up, and she got Milarepa to go to study black magic, and he did that, and he became expert, and he came back and he wreaked revenge on his uncle. He killed them all. He summoned lightning and thunderbolts and all kinds of, I mean, just the kind of magic he was able to wield, the knowledge was really, really hardcore. And he was so afterwards like, what have I done? And had enormous regret and wanted to live an ascetic life. And so he went to someone who was known to be a great teacher, and his name was Marpa the translator. And he wouldn't. see him because he knew he'd murdered people. He said, "No, I don't want to know you. I don't want to teach you." And Milarepa was begging him, "Please give me the pith instructions for meditation. I want to learn, please." And he goes, "No."
Right. You're a
And
lost cause.
yeah, you're a lost cause. You're
Mm.
finished. And he kept going back and begging him. And, he was persistent, Milarepa. And Marpa, the translator, was married, and his wife took pity on him and said, "Look, why don't you get him? Why don't you just allow him to just try and show a little compassion? He is really keen."
Hmm.
So he said, "Okay, all right, I want you to build me a tower." And Milarepa said, "Yeah, okay, it's done." And he built him the tower. He built a tower. It took him a year. And then Marpa said, "Okay, you can take it down now. I want you to build me another one." And this went on for a number of years. "Yeah, build me another tower, take it down.
Right. It's like the
Build me
Karate
another
Kid.
tower, take it down.
Right.
Build me another to take it down." And there's one tower that is called Milarepa's Tower somewhere in Tibet, I'm not sure. But finally, Milarepa was going to commit suicide. He was gonna kill himself because he'd been doing this for years. And he said, "I am going to kill myself." And the wife believed him. She said, "For goodness sake, stop doing this." And he said, "All right, I'll give you the pith instructions. I'll teach you." And he finally taught him. And Milarepa resided in a cave and became the yogi saint of Tibet. He became famous. He became a famous practitioner.
Hmm.
He paid for what he'd done. He had been tortured terribly by this experience and became a yogi saint who would just sing these songs from nowhere, which contained enormous great wisdom. I'm paraphrasing here because I'm not sure. There's so many other details about his life, but I was always desperately attracted to the story. I just thought it's a beautiful story.
Hmm. And Milarepa, correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't he the yogi who only ate nettles and and he turned green? Was that him?
I'm not sure. What I led to believe is that when they found him dead, when they found him his last place, all they found was these rags, and a small piece of brown sugar and a blade. That's all he had.
Hmm.
He didn't have anything,
Hmm.
just that. I
Hmm.
mean, nothing. He was just a hermit living in a cave, and that's all he had, a little piece of sugar. And obviously he would chip away at it with his knife. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
So, Ajahn don't necessarily have to undergo this kind of initiation, but
No,
yeah, they do. They're kind of like I see them as kind of like a South American shaman who may have to go into a kind of isolation, dieta period of time. It could be months and years. And it's often thought that, the longer one spends in a dieta or isolation, that the more power they accrue. Is there something similar with the Ajahn?
Ajahns have to become monks in order to learn Sak Yant. They spend time in a monastery,
Hmm.
a Buddhist temple, and they have to uphold 227 precepts.
Wow, that's a lot of rules.
And they have to uphold them and some potential ajahns, I mean, anywhere from 6 months onwards. I know of some ajahns that have been in the temple for 15 years, and then they disrobe, and then they practice. They wish to practice, then they can take on a wife, have a family. They can do these things if they so wish. Not all do this, but some do.
Mm.
Um, and so everyone is different, but
Hmm.
they're still lay people. They still have a life, and they are individual, and they have their own way, their own.
Yeah.
Uh,
And so, tattooing, is that something that all ajahns would learn, or is that kind of a specific calling?
yes, they can do that. It depends on the lineage and the master that they are being taught from. If they have if a teacher comes to them, and if they're already in their life, they go to, if they have an interest in magic, and a lot of ajahns in childhood have that interest.
Oh, totally. They're like us, only they've got some place to go.
Exactly.
Right.
They have some direction. They go, oh, I can go to the temple, and they, oh yeah, you know magic, yes, we practice this, and it's okay. Um,
Yeah, or
and
someone
there's
might recognize that quality in them when they're children or the interest, right? And go, ah, okay, he's one of them. We know where to send him.
yeah, it's there's more. I don't know. I think there's a much more. It's easier, really, in some respect, because it's already, you have the flexibility to do that. If you're interested in something, then you go to the temples, and you can learn that. You can become
Right.
a temple boy, and then you learn, and you have interest in magic, and then you can learn that as a early childhood, and then you can be a temple boy, and then you can become ordained if you wish, become a fully ordained monk. And then after a time, once you feel as though you've learned that, maybe you stay on, or maybe you disrobe and you go, I just wish to practice as an ajahn without being a monk. And then, some people leave
Right.
the order for various reasons. I mean, maybe there's a family business, and they have been left to look after it. So there are so many different pathways and reasons, and people have complex lives. And sometimes it's very simple. It's everyone has their own pathway.
Hmm. Now, do ajahns, if they do go into a practice of some sort, um, do they have like different specialties? Like one may feel called to learn the tattooing art of doing Sak Yant. Another may have like another type of practice that they offer people. Like you can go to them for healing or blessing in some other way. Is that the kind of thing that's happening?
Ajahn Sir, when I visited him a number of times, he had this thing that he learned from solely from the teacher, that his teacher, one thing, and that's divination by feeling the upper arm.
Hmm.
He could just touch someone's upper arm and do a form of divination just by touching the upper arm. And it's a thing that only that particular teacher knew about. And so he now knows this form of magic, this form of divination. I mean, he's touched my arm 2 or 3 times. And each time he said something like, I mean, I have no idea
Hmm.
how he knew certain things. I mean, one of the times he said to me, "You you know things before they happen, don't you? You you see things, don't you?" And I didn't want to say it because I'd never admitted to anyone that I knew this. I had this capacity, this intuitive side, and I went, "Yeah, I have had this. And he went, ah, because you've had a guardian angel who's been guiding you. And I
Hmm.
went, really? He said, yeah. And he's been talking to you and telling you what to look out for. I went, wow. And he went, but now they will be leaving because it is time for them to go, and you must say goodbye. So we will do a ritual,
Hmm.
and you will say goodbye, and we will make sure that you do something meritorious for them.
Hmm.
And I went, okay, what's that? And I had this ritual with him. I had to go to a market and buy 32 catfish. And these things are really muscular. And I mean, catfish, I mean, these things are it's like a human arm
Hmm.
in terms of musculature. And what happened is that I had to take a whole dustbin full of these things in water and put them in front of him. And this ritual was very complex with numerous different offerings around, and I had to sit in the middle of it. And then he said, I mean, I described this in the book, and he said, now you need to take the lid off and then, put your face near the lid, and then I will chant over it. Well, I tried that, and they were not having any of it.
The catfish.
I mean, they were furious. They were just, the whole room looked in horror, and they were just like, wow. It was like they were livid. Wow. Yeah, I mean, massive things, just rabbit. The water was frothing, and he went, maybe you should put the lid on. I went, oh, okay, good call. Put the lid on, and he did the blessing over the top with the lid on.
I like how he's just adaptable and responsive, you know? It's like,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. Let's just move away from that idea and try
Yeah,
something
forget
else.
about the face thing. Just
Yeah, just keep the. I mean, he wanted me to put my face close to it, and I thought no. And they were like, really,
yeah, they
I
can be
mean,
scary. Yeah. Hmm.
well, beforehand, we brought, I've had help bringing this huge dustbin lid, and before we managed to get a lid on them, one of them jumped out and started doing this, hit it, just sort of just gesticulating down the pathway
He's making a run for
towards
it.
the street. No, it's serious. I mean,
Yeah.
I had to try and grab this thing and put it back into the bin, into this huge dustbin filled with water. I mean,
Yeah.
to keep them in, there's 32 of these things. And it was like, and when you hold a catfish like this, they are really, really violent and muscular, and they don't want any part of it. So put it in, and it happened again. I had to run down again. It was Keystone Cops. It was just totally crazy. It was a comedy.
You got catfished. Yeah, I mean, if you've
Totally.
ever seen the videos of the people in the southern United States, they call it noodling, and they'll stick their hand in the river or lake or whatever, and they'll allow the catfish to come up and take their hand, to eat it, and that's how they'll catch the fish.
No,
So I'm imagining that while you're talking about putting your face near this frothing mass of catfish.
that's scary.
No, maybe we'll just put the lid on. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
It's so touching to me that the Ajahn recognized that you had this guardian spirit who is going to be leaving, and that you should do a ritual to say goodbye, to thank them. I was so touched by that. I think that's
Yes,
beautiful.
it was an extraordinary experience, Brian, and the whole thing was kind of it became cinematic. You know, when things go that way, it becomes cinematic. You know, it's not like you're thinking, oh, this could be a good film. It's actually, oh, it feels like I'm in a film. You know, it has that quality to it. The next thing that happened, and this is most peculiar, the I had to take these fish and then empty them into the Ping River. And to do so meant driving through Friday night traffic in Chiang Mai. And I had a driver with me, and we we drove around trying to take these fish after the ritual. And this is a heavy, really heavy tub of fish riding around, banging away, still quite furious. And finally, somehow found this temple. So, sorry, no, not a temple. We found this that's right, it was a hotel, which looked like a movie set from some Arabian adventure. It was peculiar. And we pulled up in the car. I thought maybe we'll just get away with this, and just. But we'll have to go to the front desk and ask, can we, have access to the Ping River through the hotel? But anyway, took this, and we walked, just a couple of people looking slightly dodgy with a huge, bucket, massive bin with writhing fish, catfish, and went in, and there was nobody there. Okay, keep walking around, nobody there. I mean, the hotel was empty. There was nobody on the desk. There was nothing. Okay, keep walking. Went to the back into where the sun lounges were. There's nobody there. And the Ping River was just there. It's this huge river. Okay, keep going. And then I saw this, kind of a ladder thing leading over down onto the beach, onto the where the shore is of the Ping River. Go there, walk there. Nobody at any point came out and said, "Stop!" It was just a sort of bizarre, surreal moment where it was almost as if the place had been cleared
Right.
for us to do this, to
Yeah.
do this thing.
The
And
path
then
opened. Yeah.
it was exactly that. And then got to the beach, and then got ready to empty this thing. And I looked up, and there was this massive, huge wolf moon, and it was hanging in it was just hanging in like a silver plate. And I looked up at it, and it was like the most peculiar moment. It was beautiful and serene. And I slowly lifted this huge bin filled with catfish, opened the lid, and it was like a cannon going off. It exploded, and all these fish just exploded out into the Ping River. It just went, I mean, they literally just arched into the Ping River. The idea behind this is to release sentient beings, to free sentient beings into the river, to free them from certain death.
Oh, so had you rescued the catfish from like a food market?
Yes,
Ah, okay. That makes sense. I was going to say because you caught them in the first place, so you're only releasing them from yourself, but that's an important detail.
yes, I didn't mention that. I had to go to a wet market, which if you haven't been to a wet market in Thailand, it is Well, I won't go into detail, but it's I found it profoundly disturbing. But there were so many things going on there, I can't even say. But it was intense, and I acquired the catfish there, and all of them, and then ended up after the ritual releasing them back into the river. And
Nice.
this
I like that.
this is an important part of the ritual, saving sentient form of life so that they are freed back in. And that was the offering made to the guardian angel that was leaving,
Hmm.
that had guided me. And that was the entire point of the ritual. And it was done on a wolf moon, a full wolf moon. And that is of great significance.
Hmm.
It was
What's
planned specifically for that time. Sorry.
yeah, what's a wolf moon? Is this from I can't imagine they have wolves in Thailand, do they?
That is the astrological term for the full moon that it occurred on. A
And
wolf
so
moon.
that's related to whatever month that the full moon occurred?
Yeah, it's a particular moon that happens maybe once a year. There are different moons, and they each have either a hunter's moon or different
Hmm.
moons that are named specifically for that purpose. They call them they name them, and this was a full
Yeah.
moon, and it was a full wolf moon, uh, and that added I don't know it added depth and significance and auspiciousness to the entire ritual.
Hmm. Yeah, I was just curious because here in the Pacific Northwest, the native people have names for different moons, but I think those names change, according to geography, the native animals there and things like that. So I was just wondering, like, if the wolf moon was like a European thing or a Thai thing. Or,
No, I think we're named Wolf Moon in Europe. I think as well.
yeah,
It's to
okay.
do with wolves calling. I mean, allegedly, that wolves uh, call allegedly call on this, and it's to do with the connectiveness of the wolf pack.
Hmm.
And I don't know, there was just something kind of charismatic about it, but it was a very beautiful, massive silver moon that looked over this entire thing, this entire scene, and
Presided over the ritual. Yeah.
it went over the ritual, and
Hmm.
there was a kind of enchantment over everything.
Yeah.
It was very special.
It was, you could say, magical.
That is the essence of magic.
Yeah, that's
Find,
great.
find finding synchronicities,
Hmm.
and when certain things are aligned and you have followed the ritual precisely, and then you complete the ritual within those given parameters, and also there's a specific time for this to happen. That's where the resonance of the magic can be best put. Magic is marginal, they say, but sometimes you can have a very important moment simply just by turning up and being there at the right place at the right time and being your being,
Hmm.
and just being is enough. But with I don't know, I was just overwhelmed. I felt very sad. I had many different feelings when I did this. It was just so kind of like it was humbling, and really and these fish, I could just see them swimming away, and they were just free.
Hmm.
They weren't going to be eaten.
Hmm.
You
Not
know,
yet.
no, not yet,
Yeah.
not today.
Not today. I love it. I love it. So is the catfish hold, is it an auspicious creature in Thai culture?
Um, I think I was asked to do the catfish. I mean, by Ajahn, sir. He said, "You go and get catfish," and I went, "Okay." Um, my mother had my late mother. She had a similar one, a similar uh, uh, ritual done, and she, I can't believe it. She had 80 fish.
Well, you had a lot of karma.
I mean, that because of her age, she was in her 80s when
Oh,
she had this thing, and they had 83 fish.
it's like one for each year kind of thing.
Yeah,
Hmm.
exactly. And the ritual wouldn't work unless they had the corresponding years each fish. I mean, my God, it was. I mean, she died in 2023, so you know, it was something that I'm glad that we did for her, that was done for her while she was alive. Just to I think magical rituals, Buddhist magical rituals are beautiful and they're a gift.
Hmm. Yeah, is there something about it in terms of like clearing karma so that when you pass over, you have an easier time going through like the bardos or whatever?
I think it helps. It's a thing of resonance and helps with the karma that you've accumulated, and it it's beneficial in as much that when you um, go through magical Buddhist rituals, it's a slow form of magic.
Hmm.
It's slow.
Like
It's
lifetimes
not.
slow.
Well, yes, yes and no. I mean, maybe something can take maybe months, maybe years to work into your existence. And maybe, as you say, in the next life, who knows?
Hmm.
But I was again, Ajahn Sir is a superb practitioner. He said to me once, "If you need this, I can extend someone's life by a month." And I went, "You what?" And it was a ritual that he was able to do to ask the spirits to preserve someone's life for one more month. Because if you were going to die and you wanted to extend someone's life just by a month, he could do this
Hmm.
for any particular reason.
Hmm.
But he could do that. He had that kind of access to that kind of power to extend life with the correct magical coordinates, the correct ingredients, the correct precision. He could do this, and you would make an offering to him to do such a thing. He I have enormous respect for him. He's also wonderful. He's got a very great warmth about him, and
Hmm.
he's kind. And I see him as one of my teachers.
Hmm.
Um, Ajahn Deng is like that. He has done most of the Sak Yant on my body. Ajahn Nanting is like that. They have a fatherly aspect, the father that I never had.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I talk about these men who, if we're seeking, and not necessarily seeking a kind of a father figure or to heal the father wound or whatever, but if we're just seeking and we're following those breadcrumbs, following those intuitive calls to some adventure, that will, those of us who carry the father wound will often meet these male figures who, the way I think of it, are able to bless us in the way that our own biological father just wasn't able to for whatever reason, you know.
Yeah,
And it's a wonderful thing to have that experience. And I don't talk to many men who recognize it or talk about it. So I'm interested, like for you, like what was meaningful about that, about meeting this older man who, whatever, saw something in you or recognized you. Just maybe say a little bit about that, if you would.
yeah. I I became aware that I mean each of the adjuncts have an aspect. about them. Um, Ajahn Deng, he has just a lovely sense of humor, and the more that you meet him, the he just has this nice wry smile, and he goes, "I know you, I know you, I know
Mm.
what you're like, and I
Right, with
understand."
that that twinkle in the eyes, like I got your number, pal.
Yes, yes, exactly, and that is heartwarming,
Right. There's that
and
recognition, right?
exactly, and Ajahn Sir, he he's just very honest. He's very, very honest because he sees you completely. He sees who you are and what you are. He can just tell you right there. He says, "I can see you," and I go, "Well, okay," and I say, and I know what you need, not what you want, but I know what you need. What you
Right.
need is this.
May not be what you want, actually.
It may not be what I want.
Hmm.
I mean, I didn't want a soy San Juan, but he said, "No, you need this."
Hmm.
And that was, well, the pain of receiving this Sak Yant was excruciating. I mean, needle on bone, I mean, it was
Yeah.
the last thing I wanted. But the thing about Sak Yant is that you keep composure. You keep your composure, and that is a part of the pilgrimage. You hold your composure, you stay calm and centered, and you take it. You take the pain and you absorb it, and you are with that.
Hmm.
That is a part of the ritual, your composure.
Yeah, totally. Um, in it's funny because like American traditional tattooing was not seen as ceremonial or spiritual or anything like that. But me going in and getting a kind of a traditional American style tattoo from, a guy who maybe I just like, but he's not claiming to be spiritual or anything like that. But going with my own kind of framework and attitude, and I've seen them as these kind of spiritual ordeals, and a lot of it, yeah, has to do with maintaining your composure. And so staying centered, breathing through the pain, allowing the energy to try and move through your system, not get all stuck. And it's funny because if you're able to maintain that composure, you get this kind of seal of approval from the tattooer who might be like a gruff kind of dude, right? But they'll say, "Yeah, you laid there like a log." And that's like
Yes,
that's a high compliment, that you maintain your composure and it was easy for them to do their work and.
it's interesting you use that term, like a log, because what happened, the Ajahn Dang, on Facebook, he shared the memory of me receiving Sak Yant with his followers, and written there, just one word, when he shared the memory, and the word was wooden.
Yes, amazing.
Wooden. And I looked at it and I went, wooden, wooden. Oh,
Yeah,
wooden.
yeah. Oh man, that's so cool.
You reminded me of that. What you
Yeah,
just said, that resonates with me,
yeah,
doesn't
if
it?
he was American he would have said you laid there like a log.
Exactly.
That's so cool. I mean, this stuff when you get into this I don't know, these traditions, it's all archetypal, baby. It's all, it's like it's the same everywhere. It just kind of fruits up into the culture in a different form with maybe a different scent or but when you get down to the roots of it, I mean, there's just so much commonality. And you
Mm.
write about this a little in the book, and it's something that I've wrestled with over the years, this idea of cultural appropriation. Is it right for me as a person of European descent living in North America to engage in South American shamanism or South Indian yoga, et cetera, et cetera, you know? And I think like because of the experiences I've had throughout my life before I started an intentional practice, I just had the sense that these were universal human technologies. And I actually didn't need to take on any of the cultural tropes in order for them to work. Maybe getting into the culture, like chanting, Vedic mantra, kind of unlocked the power of mantra in me. But now the mantras come to me in English words often, or even as just melodies. And I see I have this thing where I'll see the melody as like the form of a key, and
Mm.
the melody is not correct until the key takes the right shape, and the key unlocks something, you know. And it's a bit of a mystery to me, but I'd have this very visceral experience of the melody shaping a key.
Mm.
But it was through the practice of Vedic mantra of like working in this particular tradition with teachers who are really immersed in this for a long time. But then once it's opened up, it's like you get the secret to the technology or something that's underneath the cultural layer or the superficial aesthetic layer of it. And I just, that to me is amazing. It's amazing. And then so then ideas of cultural appropriation, I go, what are you talking about? It just seems as kind of a small-minded critique a lot of the time.
I think the term, for me anyway, appropriation, it comes into play when you, in a wholesale way, take something and industrialize it and commercialize it and
Right.
take it and are disrespectful. Um, I I don't feel that what you and I do is that at all in any way
No.
whatsoever,
Yeah.
because there's heart, and if there is a heart to what you do, then it is hopefully with integrity. Um, the you know, I mean, I had an experience uh, where someone I was, approached me. They were going to talk to me about the book, and I went, okay. And I referred them to my publicist um, at the publisher. I won't say who, but what I will say is that within the space of 5 days, this person had established a package tour, a commercial package tour to Thailand, and they'd had access to my book for 5 days, and they set up a package tour to Thailand.
Oh, to like take other people there already.
Yeah, yeah.
Huh.
And it would be impossible for them to read my book in 5 days. And suddenly on the fifth day, they set up this package tour. And I said to my publishers, I said, I'm sorry. In all honesty, I can't speak with these people anymore because I feel it, it's kind of denigrated
Mm.
my my book and experience. I don't wish to be rude and I don't wish to be preachy, but this writing this book has taken me nearly 10 years, and I've done so with enormous soul searching and an intent. I mean, it is personal. It's a very personal book, but it's also multifaceted in as much as a travel book. It's a spiritual memoir.
Hmm. Well, and there's so much respect and honoring of these ajahns and teachers, everyone along the way who helped you on your pilgrimages. I never got the sense, looking through the book, that there was anything self-aggrandizing about it. Often what I find, and I get a lot of people soliciting me because I have the podcast, and so I get these emails, and it's very clear to me almost straight away when someone has written a book in order to sell their coaching package or their travel tourism to South America or whatever it is. Like, it's clear to me that they've got something to sell, and the book is merely the kind of the new version of a business card, you know?
Yes.
And I never got that sense from you or your book. I still actually don't know how you make your living, and I don't suspect that it's leading tours to Thailand to get have your own Sak Yant experience.
No, no, I don't do any kind of selling or I mean, I produce music. Well, I have done, and I have music on Bandcamp, but nobody buys it, which is fine, which is the same as nearly everyone. But you know, I mean, I don't. I mean, I don't know how I make a living. I mean, I don't. I mean, I mentioned this person setting up a package tour because it was so shocking to me that I would never have thought about doing something like that. You know, it's, I mean, that's to me is a form of appropriation.
Yeah, right.
And without, you know, it's like technologically speaking, you know, you take an idea and then you get placed on the top of Everest without having climbed Everest.
Hmm.
You know, it's monetizing someone's spiritual life.
Yeah.
And that to me is repugnant.
Hmm.
Appropriation, I've always been concerned about. I see the word flying around and I go, well, I hope to God I'm not like that.
Well, I mean, okay, and you do talk about this in the book, though, that like if you look at Thai Buddhism, there is so much appropriation going on. Like all along the Silk Road, through all these different cultures, there was things being appropriated. Like the shaman, the medicine person, the spiritual practitioner, they are the most practical type of people. They'll use whatever works and they'll appropriate it and kind of make it their own. I think a much better word is exploitation. And that's what I hear in that anecdote about the person just kind of getting the gist of something from your book, and maybe through association it lends their trip some legitimacy or something like this, or maybe they would try to rope you into it and say, "Hey, I'll cut you in on it." That to me is exploiting like you. It's exploiting your association with these teachers, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You know. But
Yeah, I
appropriation
mean,
on its own, I'm like, it can be good, it can be bad, you know. But when it's exploitation, that to me is more clear. Like exploiting your tenuous relationships to some teacher or shaman that you met and putting it front page on your website in order to give yourself legitimacy, all of that, you know.
I mean, if anyone has a will to do something, then I do sincerely wish them the best of luck. But I I cannot, in all honesty, support anything, as I mentioned in the book, that you know the monetization of spirituality. You know, I think there's a term which you know is bandied about where people allegedly are you know commodifying trauma.
Hmm.
I I think it's unfair to throw everyone into that because you know what you need to take into account, and you are genuine, are the genuine people, people who are genuine and sincere about what they do. When you ring a bell, it will sound true, and it won't be a deficit in any way, and you will know this is right and proper. Shaman and holy practitioners, you rightly say, have absorbed many different elements. And, you know, Thailand, it's a peninsula. It's, I mean, Southeast Asia is a peninsula and it is fed by the sea. And the sea and the sea traders brought Hinduism and brought all kinds of influences. And that through the land, other influences also. So it becomes almost like a womb, Southeast Asia, and while still retaining its own identity, draws in many other interesting influences. And some they remain, some they disappear, and others are enduring. So, you know, I believe that you know, we as beings are osmosis through osmosis can absorb many different things, knowingly and unknowingly.
Hmm.
I mean, as a child, I was exposed to all kinds of things on television and you know and in books, and now I find myself here today speaking with you,
Hmm.
and we are resonating together and recognizing certain things, and there are similarities, but we've had very different pathways and
Hmm.
different lives. So I agree that I mean I used to write for a lovely magazine called Indie Shaman, and it's about independent shaman, and they would have all kinds of different uh, practitioners, and also focusing on South America. But their mission was very clear. They're no longer run now as a publication, but there is a website of all the old articles. Some of them are mine, uh, which basically states that their mission was not to try and preserve original and traditional traditions, to preserve them, but also respect the new. And that is what the magazine did, and that's why I was attracted to it.
Mm.
And writing for Indie Shaman was a wonderful experience. It gave me an opportunity to express my enthusiasm on any given particular subject, either trance states, or maybe, you know, I talk about the appearance of a Kali amulet around the death of my mother, you know, and Kali representative of death and destruction, you know. So I expressed that in an article. I mean, I wasn't appropriating the amulet. I mean, it just appeared in my life
Right.
quite naturally at that time, which
Mm.
happened to be a time of my mother passing and dying of cancer.
Mm.
So these things are synchronous and they happen quite naturally, and things come into our lives for a reason. And
Yeah.
again, you know, it. I don't see it as appropriation. I mean, if it is a hard, cold, and deliberate uh, consumerist
Hmm.
capitalist venture,
Yeah.
then yes, obviously you know it has that connotation and it will have that. But
Yeah.
if it isn't that, then it isn't.
Yeah. And I think that's like what a lot of the people who stand outside the practice, um, they don't understand that like what how you're describing it, the way I envision it or way that I experience it, it's like you said, we absorb so many things from the culture, from our family, um, but some things kind of adhere to us.
Yes.
Like with me, the we were talking before we started recording how I was fascinated as a young person by these images of the Hindu deities, brightly colored, looking like these superheroes, like Hanuman with his big muscular legs and his mace and all of that. Somehow that stuck to me. That adhered to my soul stuff. There was some resonance there, some stickiness, some magnetism there. Same goes with martial arts, and then the yoga, and then the shamanism. I've been exposed to so many things throughout my life, but it's
Mm.
these few kind of ingredients that make up the mix of my spiritual life. And I didn't go seeking any of them because I thought, it would be cool to add to the mix is some like South American shamanism or this Christian ayahuasca tradition that I became a part of, and I still carry the songs with me for some
Mm,
unknown reason. I
mm.
don't know any Portuguese except I can sing Portuguese from these songs in this one tradition, and I can't
Wow.
explain it. But what I've just come to kind of accept is, well, there's probably something from my past lives, uh, and I'm kind of picking up where I left off in some cases, or finding what I need in this lifetime to continue on.
Yeah,
But I just accept that whatever I'm drawn to, I'll explore, and some things just stick around.
yeah,
And I can't really explain it, but it's just kind of part of the wonderful mystery of life. And if you engage in a practice for long enough, it's been my experience that teachers will come and give you the blessing to
yeah.
be a practitioner in their lineage. Or in one case, one showed up and said, "You're in my style." And I thought, well, that's a good way of putting it. It's kind of like his style of, and that's what people from the outside can't see is these
No,
very real, profound, moving experiences of like the teacher's blessing or that call from a young age drawing you into something that is like so outside of your
yeah,
culture. Like
yeah,
me as a kid in the 90s being called to go to yoga before there was really yoga studios around, I was
yeah,
like,
yeah,
what the hell was it about this thing that drew me in and then has remained a big part of my life since?
yeah. You've had callings and you responded, and your intuitive side has said, you do this, and you've listened, and that's the most important thing.
Hmm.
You have listened. You've listened to the inner voice, the intuitive side, and you have followed that. And that is what many people don't do. Many do, but then some don't. And they can hear that voice, but they discount it. It's important to hear and listen and respond
Hmm.
because you're being given an opportunity to experience something quite wonderful. And, you have obviously a great love, passion, enthusiasm, and they have most importantly given you a deep sense of joy. And they're a part of your life. And these elements are there for a reason. You can't not identify with something without being it identifying with you in
Hmm.
some way. And I question. I mean, I looked at everything in the book before I sent it off to the publisher. Before I said, oh, what are they going? What are they going to say? I felt is, is this gonna is this right? And I go, well, I've written what I feel is right, and I've only told the truth. And sometimes, as they say, the truth really is stranger than fiction,
Hmm.
because what you're saying is your reality, what you've experienced, and how you've experienced it. Um, we're drawn to so many different things. It's on a conscious and subconscious level. Um, I had an experience with this practitioner, and her name was Jenny Thomason. And I was living in London, and I was living in Swiss Cottage, and the local community centre. It had this, like this glass case where all these adverts were, and one of them had a little piece of paper saying tarot readings, and gave the price and the room number in the community centre. I thought this is in the 90s, and I thought, okay, I'll go and do this. And I went in, and it was Jenny Thomas. Now, if you've ever seen a program called Upstairs Downstairs on British television, it's like from the 70s.
Hmm.
And Upstairs Downstairs features a character called Ruby, and she's this scullery maid who's always seems to be in some kind of pain or otherwise, and she was always being berated by Mrs. Bridges. Well, that's Jenny Thomason. And this actress from a very famous British television show was sitting there in this room in Swiss Cottage in the community centre reading tarot cards. And I was like, I recognize you, but no, it can't be you, can it? And this actress, actor, or actor, as I should say, she had an incredible career, but also had the ability to do something called psychometry. I sat down with her and she read my cards and said, okay, I've read your cards. Could you please give me an object that you have? And I went, okay. And I gave her my watch. And she sat there for about just a couple of 2 or 3 minutes and was going, touching it and holding it. And then she said something that I will never forget. It was the most extraordinary thing. She said, you're going to travel here, and then you're going to travel over here, and then here, and then here, and then you'll go here, you'll stay there for a little bit, and then you'll go here, and that will be it. And I'm just going, oh, okay. It was only years later did I realize, I mean, this information made sense. Years later, she was describing me going backwards and forwards to Los Angeles to visit family, where I would eventually meet my wife and I would get married out there, get married and stay there for 7 years. And then eventually I left California and then came back to Britain. Jenny Thomason, the actress who was Ruby in Upstairs Downstairs, saw the pathway that I would lead in terms of my travel arrangements for a period of 10 years. I mean, mind-blowing. She had an extraordinary gift. And yet, you wouldn't know that this was the same person. And she told me this, and I thought, well, people are amazing. They have so many hidden facets to them. We're receivers and we receive things, and we receive them, and it goes in, and maybe it'll disappear for a while, but the trace of it will always remain. And she and her gift will always remain with me in my mind. I will always remember meeting her.
Hmm.
And, she sadly no longer with us, but she had this extraordinary talent and ability, but didn't make a big deal about it. She was quiet about it. She didn't. She was famous as an actress, as doing this part on British television for many years. But also, she had this other side whereby she was involved in doing this thing. And I guess what I'm trying to say, Brian, is that we all have parts of ourselves, and some of them are dormant, and some of them are not so dormant. And they're there, they're just waiting to flex, to become alive, to become awakened. Each of us have aspects which are just waiting to occur, to happen, to come alive.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think each of us has a sincere spiritual path that is calling to us. And, I was just thinking about this yesterday morning. I was thinking about the call and, how I've always been able to hear it. Well, I don't know when there are times when I haven't heard it, but frequently enough that the breadcrumbs have been close enough together that it's led me on this particular path. And I was thinking about these days, with young people growing up with social
Mm,
media and the internet, there is just so much noise coming in from the outside world that I think that will actually make it difficult to hear the inner call or the inner urging of the daimon or the guardian angel or spirit. So I don't know. The recommendation I have for people, if they're trying to find their true path, the path with heart, as Castaneda called it, is you gotta like turn down the noise. You gotta stop taking in so much from the outside culture.
mm,
Take in more nature, take in more birdsong, more chittering of squirrels and all of that. But I'm talking about all of the information that is pouring through the phones, through the laptops, whatever. Um, the yogis, they knew this and they had a practice called pratyahara,
mm.
just like sealing the gates. Like one of the images
Yeah,
they would use is a turtle drawing its limbs and head into its shell.
yeah.
And this was before social media. It was already seen as a problem to spiritual development. And so
Mm,
now more than ever, we have to become vigilant about our psyche, our soul,
mm,
because otherwise we're open to so many influences.
mm,
And to find the true path, I think we really have to be vigilant. We have to be like spiritual warriors
mm,
and protect ourselves, and honor the sacred vessel that we are.
mm. I agree. I was thinking when you said that there is an amulet called a prapita in Thailand, and the prapita shows the sealing of the senses, the closing down of the senses, the protection one needs to find in
Hmm.
order to hear the voice. I have one of these amulets, and prapita speaks of that as a protective amulet to find peace, to find serenity, so that you can still the waters and not be, as you say, bombarded by so much. There is, as you say, so much. I mean, I I know for a fact from the 60s I was born in through the 70s, just the amount of noise, the levels of noise have increased exponentially. And, to find silence, it's like a precious jewel, to find
Hmm.
silence, true silence, uh, the decibel levels. I always remember this, I always think about this story about John Cage, the composer. And he went into a chamber that was basically acoustically dead, a chamber.
Hmm.
He asked to go in there
Hmm.
that was sealed.
Yeah, it was the only place, like it was manufactured or whatever to
Yeah.
be absolutely shielded from any kind of sound. Yeah.
And he
So
went
wow,
in
the
there.
guy the guy who is so interested in silence or what's created in a space, right? This innovative avant-garde composer. Wow,
Yeah.
okay, he's intrigued. So maybe what can I do? What can happen in such a space? Yeah.
He went into this chamber and was intrigued by the idea of silence. But when he came out, he spoke to the engineer who was running the room, allegedly, and said, I still could hear this like this this whining, this pitch, this whining. I mean, he could hear his heart, but he said, I could hear this pitch. And the engineer said, that that was your nervous system. And he had a sort of epiphany at that point. Um, Finding silence, is to at least finding some kind of serenity is something that I seek. I do seek it, and I switch everything off. And I turn off all devices and make sure, at least to have some form of quiet, so I can not hear anything. That there's no, you know, no. I mean, obviously, we can't. I can't have complete, total
Yeah,
silence
yeah, yeah,
from what I've just discussed. I mean, there will be the heart and the lungs and the breathing, but to have some peace and serenity in this day and age, to acquire that, it's just pure treasure.
yeah,
Because as we discuss here, there's so much. Um, Speaker technology is absolutely, it's extraordinary. I mean, it's extraordinary. Speaker technology is I mean, it's to the point of being a weapon. Like piezo horns are just terrifying. They're just so. I mean, in fact, noise has been used as a weapon in psyops for many years,
mhm,
by various means, and uh, sound noise can be used in so many different ways, beneficially or non-beneficially. I mean, but as a controlling device as well.
yeah,
It's which is why I'm drawn to mantras. I know that they are positive, healing, uh, opening, resonant portals that engender change.
mhm. Yeah. I was going to point out, I think it was before we started recording, we had been talking about mantra.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
yeah. And here we are talking about sound and silence. And I always find, when we talk about finding a kind of silence or quiet, like you're saying, we can't escape sound.
mm,
As long as we're living and breathing, it's the thrum of the blood in the ears, the passage of breath through the whole body, and et cetera, et cetera. But for me, it's more about the mental quiet.
mm,
And so the world is alive around me, my body is alive, so there's always going to be sound and vibration. But when the mind is quiet, it
mm,
feels restful. Like I can rest in the noise of the forest around me, or
mm,
the waves, the ocean churning, churning, churning. It doesn't agitate.
mm.
There's a restfulness, like because my mind is quiet. So that's where I look for the silence. And all I need to do for that now is just shut up and start paying attention, because what's going on out there is much more interesting usually than what's going on up here. And I'll find I do my best thinking when I'm out walking.
Yeah,
Something about the movement of the body, and then, okay, let the mind move and churn and mull over and all of that. But then when it's time to sit, the mind can rest, and mind actually quite enjoys having a little break from all the chatter and commentary.
yeah, absolutely.
It's like, well, man, I was going to talk to you. I had this idea that maybe we could talk about like the kind of the specifics of Sak Yant, like the preparation, the maintenance, the application, and all this. But I love the conversation that we've been having.
Yeah,
And if people want all the kind of technical details and everything, they can look at your book. But I think it's just been wonderful to kind of like hear your stories. and to speak as practitioners, particularly I think of our generation, this
Mm,
Generation X, who came up in a different time in the 80s and
mm,
90s before the dawn of the internet. And I
mm,
think that gives us a particular kind of attitude or style in a way when we approach spiritual practice.
mm.
And so I enjoy that, just kind of having a conversation as two practitioners on our own kind of eclectic paths, following
Yes,
the breadcrumbs.
it's been delightful speaking with you. I mean, I really, there's so much in what you said I recognize, and
Yeah, likewise.
it's been a gift, really, speaking with you. It's been a gift. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, I feel the same. I feel like a feeling of kinship, and
yeah,
having felt like an outsider most of my life, whenever I recognize that feeling of kinship, man, that's precious. I'm just like, that's food for my soul.
yeah,
So
yeah. Same here.
thanks, Sheer. I appreciate it, and let's stay in touch. Maybe I'll finally make it to Thailand someday, but I need a buddy.
Well, yeah, you talked about Ganesha and the monkey god. Um,
Hanuman.
there are Sak Yant for them.
Hmm.
There are Sak Yant tattoos, and as you rightly said, my book will, if you are interested about the subject and want to know the mechanics and the things to look out for, it's all in there. But yeah, I'd love to go to Thailand with you, take you to see Ajahn Deng. He's just wondrous, and yeah, you I think you would love it. You would absolutely love it. You would,
Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's been one of those things that's been calling to me for a long time. And, when I was really deep into the Muay Thai thing, I thought, well, maybe I'll go over there and train and that'll, but it just
Ah,
never quite seemed like the right time or the right
yeah,
reason. But yeah, it's been there. It's been there.
great.
Hmm. Yeah, cool. Well, good luck with the book and good luck with everything else in your life. And yeah, we'll see
You
you down
you
the
too.
road.
Yeah.
Take care, man. Bye bye.